I don't know, I'm getting a blank look from up above, so I don't know if we're ready or not. We ready? Okay, we're going to begin the meeting. If you'd like to be seated. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Smithtown. Before we proceed with this evening's agenda, I ask that you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. The chair recognizes the planning department to read the items recommended for adjournment this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the planning board. The planning department would like to recommend the following items for adjournment because the applicants are not ready to be heard. Under zoning petitions, number 1, 2012-04, Storybook Homes, Wisconsin. Number 2, 2012-02, Carlson Associates, Kings Park. Number 3, 2015-05, Thomas Giswali, Kings Park. Number 4, 2010-06, KVC Holdings. Under waiver requests, number 5, 773 Scholar Estates, Comac. Number 6, 1135 2ME Platt, St. James. Number 7, 911A Glen Hill Northern, St. James. Under final subdivision, number 8, 1156 Map of Open Meadow, Fort Salonga. Under preliminary subdivision, number 9, 1158 Gnarled Hollow, Smithtown.
Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to be heard on any of the matters recommended for adjournment by the planning department? There being none, do I have a motion to adjourn the aforementioned items?
Motion to adjourn items 1 through 9 as read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The items are adjourned. The next item on the agenda is extension of a performance bond for the map of Larson Platt, Smithtown. We have a letter here from the applicant indicating that he is unable to be present here this evening. However, he indicates that all the work has been completed and inspected, and he requests that we act on the extension of his bond. We have all the paperwork in order.
Yes, the affidavit submitted.
Okay. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to be heard on this matter? There being none, is there a motion to extend the performance bond?
Are we going to read it first?
Or would you like, oh, go right ahead.
The request is for a retroactive extension of the performance bond from April 8th, 2016 to April 8th, 2018. The final map of Larson Platt, number 1153, was approved by the planning board as a 2-lot subdivision on February 5th, 2014. Performance bond estimate in the amount of $18,435 was approved by the town board on April 8th, 2014. The engineering department has no objection to the bond extension. The highway and traffic safety departments have no comment. The planning department has no objection to the bond extension. The planning department offers the following resolution for the board's consideration. Be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the request of Vincent Calvosa for a retroactive extension of the performance bond for the subdivision known as Map of Larson Platt, number 1153, for a 2-year period from April 8th, 2016 to expire on April 8th, 2018.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard again? There being none, is there a motion?
In the matter of map of Larson Platt, number 1153, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the planning department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I yes abstain, based upon the fact that the applicant is not here. There's a document that purports to be a letter from a Vincent Calvosa, which says that all the work has been completed and inspected and approved. I haven't heard anything that indicates that that's the case. I'm not saying it's not the case, and I just think that it's not a good practice to approve something with the applicant not being here. So therefore, since he's not here, I'm not going to vote one way or the other on it. I'm just going to abstain.
Okay, we have 4 votes in the affirmative and 1 abstention. The bond is extended. Next item on the agenda is the waiver request.
The request is to waive the sidewalks, street trees, and curb breakage per the performance bond within the subdivision known as map of Capizuli Plat, number 1165. The applicant would like to attach the curb breakage requirements to the building permit CO of the house to be built on Lot 1. It is noted on the application that a neighbor has purchased Lot 1 of the subdivision but does not intend to construct the new dwelling right away. The planning board approved this two-lot subdivision and performance bond estimate of $12,880 on March 18, 2015. The developer was bonded for 6 street trees, 3 on Southern Boulevard and 3 on Locust Drive. The developer was also bonded for installing 116 linear feet of sidewalk on Southern Boulevard and 232 linear feet of curb breakage on Locust Drive. The planning board's performance bond approval date, April 1st, 2015, gives the applicant the option of paying money into the town sidewalk fund in lieu of installing the sidewalks on Southern Boulevard. Southern Boulevard is in proximity to many pedestrian destinations such as shopping, parks, and schools. Although Southern Boulevard has no sidewalks between Town Line Road and Smithtown Boulevard, the town has constructed sidewalks along Southern Boulevard between Smithtown Boulevard and Middle Country Road. Southern Boulevard has been identified as a location where additional sidewalks are needed, and it is anticipated that sidewalks will be constructed in much of the remaining area between Town Line Road and Smithtown Boulevard. For this reason, the Planning Department does not recommend waiving the installation of 116 linear feet of sidewalk on Southern Boulevard. However, the Planning Department recommends that the applicant submit a payment to the sidewalk fund in lieu of installing the required sidewalks. The Planning Department objects to waiving the 6 street trees. Street trees are a standard public improvement in all subdivisions, and no justifiable reason was given to waive them. Existing healthy trees can substitute street trees at the discretion of the planning director. The Planning Department does not object to waiving the requirement for 232 feet curbing breakage. Any damage caused to the curb as a result of building the new dwelling on Locust Drive must be repaired before a certificate of occupancy can be issued, so there is little reason to have this as a requirement of the performance bond. The Engineering Department offers the following comments dated April 5th, 2016. In accordance with your request, we have reviewed the application before the Planning Board for the release of the performance bond held for the above referenced subdivision and find it unacceptable. The bond cannot be released until such time as a substitute bond is submitted by the alleged owner. The Highway and Traffic Safety Departments have no comment. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves the request by Philip and Geraldine Capizuli to waive the curb breakage requirement within the subdivision known as map of Capizuli Plat, number 1165, because any curb that is broken in the process of building the new home is required to be repaired prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. And be it further resolved that the Planning Board hereby denies the request by Philip and Geraldine Capizoli to waive the sidewalks and street trees within the subdivision known as map of Capizuli Plat, number 1165, for the following reasons. 1. Southern Boulevard has been identified as a location where sidewalks are needed, and the applicant has the option to submit a payment to the sidewalk fund in lieu of installing the sidewalks. And 2, street trees are a standard public improvement in all subdivisions, and there is no justifiable reason to waive them.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted affidavits of posting to Matt. I agree with part of the recommendation of the planning department, and with respect to the waiver of the curb repairs, which we've requested, which are part of the performance bond. The reason why we did that or making this application is Mr. Capizoli sold the lot, vacant lot next door to him to Mr. Socia. Mr. Socia's decided not to build immediately. So what's been done in the past and what I believe planning is recommending is that a requirement, if you waive that portion of the performance bond with respect to the concrete curb repairs, which I think there's an amount there. No, I can't find it now, but in any event, whatever that amount is, Yeah, breakage, $4,060. And the idea is to put it on the building permit when Mr. Socia or whoever owns that property at the time decides to build. There will be a condition of the CO that any curb repair be done by the guy who built it. In addition, we understand that the sidewalks on Southern Boulevard, and there's a Southern Boulevard Sidewalk Fund, so we agree with what planning has recommended to this board. A couple of other things that we'd like the board to consider. One, the street trees. It's a very treed area, and you may want to go and look at it to determine, there you go, there you can see trees right there. So to put more street trees, I think would be silly, and in the past, the board has waived street trees. There's another thing, the erosion control. That erosion control, which is, I guess, 200 linear feet of that black fencing at $10 a foot, becomes $2,000. That also could be put on the CO requirement. On the building permit, if he doesn't do any of these things, you don't give him a CO. Otherwise, you know, that money could be laying there for years and years and years and never be acted upon. So I think it's a reasonable request with respect to eliminating the erosion control from the bond and putting it on the ultimate builder of that lot, as well as the curb repair and type B asphalt patch. That's another thing. The only place where they're going to wreck the curbing, if at all, is going to be on the new lot. It's not going to be anywhere else because they're not going anywhere else. So again, we ask the board to consider this, and if you have any questions, I have Mr. Capizzoli here tonight. Thank you.
Any questions from any members of the board?
Yes, is the request to waive the 6 street trees based upon the fact that they're not necessary due to the existing trees that are there now?
That's correct, yeah.
Because the memo that the planning department wrote says there is no justifiable reason to waive them, but your opinion, or maybe the applicant's opinion, is that there is a justifiable reason that they're not needed because of the existing trees.
That's correct, and according to Mr. Capizzoli, and I guess the picture that you just saw, there are street trees and they're along the street. I don't know why planning said there's no justification. The board has done it many times when there's ample trees on the property.
They say there's no justification. It just appears to be possibly an opinion that we might agree with them or we might agree with you, but there's a potential reason. But I guess the planning department, maybe they can explain why it's their position that it's not justified, the claim that it's not needed.
But excuse me, before you mention anything, on the first page, it does say the planning department objects to waiving the 6 street trees.
Right.
Existing healthy trees can substitute street trees at the discretion of the planning director. So I was a little unsure if we take this paragraph or the number 2, is there something that?
So what would happen is if the planning board decides to not waive the street trees, we would go out and we would see how many existing trees could substitute for proposed street trees. In this case, when we did the inspection, we believe that there would only need to be 2 street trees actually planted because with the tree preservation plan that you had provided for the vacant lot shows that the southern half of the trees would probably be removed, so 1 street tree could be placed there. And then on Southern Boulevard, there is, in the middle of the lot, there would be a space for 1 tree. The other 4 trees would be substituted for existing trees.
So you're saying that you would agree that they could waive 4 of the 6 and only plant 2 more?
Typically, we don't recommend waiving the
It's a deal.
requirement.
I'm not going to argue with 2 street trees. That's enough, Mr. Capizzoli.
Everybody happy with that? I mean, Just that
Yeah.
we're going to waive 4 and plant 2 more. If they
There's no,
agree-
there's no need to actually, for the planning board to actually waive the trees, because it's the discretion of the planning department just at the time when we go out to sign off on it, so.
But are you going to go out soon? It's a question of cash money in the form of a bank account. So if the board decides to waive them, we'll get that credit, that part of that money back that's put up for a bond. That's all I'm saying.
2 trees.
Well, I'll let Matt speak
We
about.
only need 2 more. Why would you make them put in 6 if we only need 2? No.
I mean, we do them after the house is built, so we can see, what trees you took down based on the tree preservation. But right now, there's nothing there, so we don't know exactly what trees. See what I'm saying? It's not, because if we waive the trees, then how do we know if you take them down?
How do you know
They're
they're
not
not
being
going to take them down
protected.
in the future? The trees that are there? It's a violation of
There could be a
town code to
it could
do
be
that.
it could be put into the resolution that if they take them down, they have to replace them.
Okay.
And
that's
even if
another-
you waive them, you don't get the money back right away. That would be a performance bond reduction, but waiving them, you don't get the money back right away,
Why not?
right?
The money would come back when the performance bond is released.
When,
'cause
what's
they're
what,
gonna- right.
Yeah,
Allison? I didn't hear you.
When the bond is
Performance
released,
bond is released, she said.
you get the money back. But if you waive the trees now, it's not like you just get the money back for the trees.
I guess I just don't understand. If we didn't have to put up,
You're asking
install,
why the money would still continue to be held if there's no need,
Yeah,
no need
right.
to hold the money.
right, if the trees don't have to be planted, then why would you hold the money? It's not a growth and life bond.
No. I'll check that for you.
In other words, his question is, if we're only going to require them to put in 2 trees, why are we holding the money for 6 trees as opposed to 2 trees? I think that's what he's saying.
Yes.
Maybe we could adjourn this for an on-site inspection?
I think
That's
and then
fine.
they could
That's-
maybe
that-
clear up some of these issues?
I think that's fine. I have no
Okay.
objection.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Would 2 weeks suffice, or?
Yeah, that's fine. 2 weeks.
All right, to the next meeting, we'll make an adjournment on this, so we can go do an on-site and see first.
And maybe they can work out these
Right.
issues with the logistics of the 2 versus the 6.
Right, Mr. Tramarko, you communicate with the planning department and work
Yes,
something out?
I see them almost every day, so.
Okay. All right, motion?
Any more questions before I make a motion?
No, I'm done. I just want to say one other thing when you do your resolution or afterwards.
It's just going to be adjourned, I think.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Chairman, we discussed before the meeting started the map of Cahill Plat.
Yes.
So you were going to do an investigation of it?
Yes,
and-
I was in receipt of your letter. I saw it for the first time this evening. I was away. The planning department contacted me and advised me that for them to render a decision or a recommendation on this, they
Right.
wanted to seek counsel from the town attorney. And it's my understanding from reading your letter that there are cases that have occurred in the past where the full amount was not required. So I would like to take a look at this and perhaps hopefully we'll have this resolved by the next planning board meeting.
Fine, I think that's a great idea, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, we were at a motion, and our next meeting date is, for the record, May
May 4th.
4th.
All right, in the matter of Capizoli plat number 1165, I move that we adjourn this matter to the May 4th, 2016 meeting of this board to permit on-site inspections to be done and also additional discussions between the applicant and the department regarding the issue of how many trees.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's adjourned. Next item on the agenda is a zoning petition, Carmack Superstores Incorporated. I see council is here this evening.
This is a follow-up to the recent public hearing relative to the above referenced petition. The board adjourned the hearing so that the Traffic Safety Department could review the traffic studies submitted at the hearing It was requested that the study be reviewed as it pertains to the recommendation that the existing traffic signal at Highway Place be utilized. The Traffic Safety Director has advised this office that additional information is necessary before he can make a final determination as to whether the site should utilize the signal. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board recommends that the Town Board approve zone change petition 2015-14 CarMax Auto Superstores, Inc. for a change of zone from LI and R10 to WSI, subject to the following conditions. 1. Approval does not imply that the Board of Zoning Appeals or Board of Site Plan Review should approve variances or the site design submitted with the petition. 2. Vehicular access to the traffic signal at Highway Place shall be provided unless the Town Board determines that not using the signal would be in the public interest. 3. There shall be no access to Browning Street. 4. A covenant shall be filed limiting the use of the site to a motor vehicle showroom or uses permitted in the LI Light Industry Zoning District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, J. Timothy Shea Jr., Sir Tillman Ballin, 100 Motor Parkway, Hopog, New York, for the applicant. We've reviewed the staff recommendations, and we are generally in agreement with the same, but there are some concerns with the wording, and we don't want to necessarily make a federal case out of it, acknowledging that these are recommendations that will go to the town board. But we do have some minor requested changes, which I don't think in any way affect the substance of the recommendations. I've made, unfortunately, only 6 copies, so I'm going to give the 5 to the board, and I will give one to Allison afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll briefly explain why it is that we're asking for the very minor changes in our mind. The second condition reads currently that the vehicular access to the traffic signal at Highway Place shall be provided unless the town board determines, and this is the part that we object to, is that not using the signal would be in the public interest. The public interest is a very nebulous term. It's very open to interpretation. I know it does appear in certain sections of the town code still, but under the town law, there is no defined public interest in connection with zoning and land use applications. We acknowledge that the town board would have ultimate jurisdiction with regard to its recommendations on the change of zone, subject to New York State DOT, who would have ultimate jurisdiction as to whether the curb cut should be opened on Middle Country Road. So we just ask that the words after determines be stricken and be replaced with the word otherwise. The intent is the same, but we think that the wording is a little bit better. And secondly, with regard to covenant condition number 4, or recommendation number 4, again, mostly style over substance. It says that the covenant shall be filed limiting use of the site to a motor vehicle showroom or uses permitted in the LI zoning district. We have asked that after the word showroom, the following words be added with requested customary accessory uses. I've talked to staff with regard to this, and staff views the motor vehicle showroom to include those customary accessory uses which we discussed at the last hearing. The on-site car wash for repairs, the repair bays, the outside display, and the outside storage. However, the town code has defined terms, and motor vehicle showroom does not include all of those accessory uses, which are defined in other places within the code, such as car wash, outdoor display, outdoor storage of vehicles. So just so that the record is clear, we think that these words with the requested customary accessory uses be included in the recommendation. And we would ask that the board amend the planning department's recommendation or issue their own recommendation to include the language that we have asked for here. We think it's a little bit clearer, and we would feel a little bit more comfortable with that. Thank you.
Okay, have you seen the copy of this, or you have one?
I've seen it.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I emailed slightly different version to Peter yesterday. I'll take this one back, that's fine. Oh, that's it. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Your opinion on these proposals?
Just what Mr. Shea had said with respect to number 4, that the planning department would consider any customary accessory uses to be approved, approvable. But if he finds that it would be clearer to include them in this wording, there's no objection.
Okay. Any questions, comments from any members of the
Nobody
board?
objects, it's no problem to
And
me.
number 2 is okay, determines
They say
otherwise.
it's good.
It seemed to be okay to me. Is that the wording on number 2 determines otherwise? That's fine with me. I don't know about anybody
Yeah,
else,
it
but
seems to be one word replacing a bunch of words,
Yeah.
which is always good.
Okay.
Who knew a lawyer would use less words?
So they're happy with it, the
Yeah.
planning, they have.
Yeah, they have an
Yeah.
objection to that, those changes.
Any other comments from the board? Any members of the public who wish to be heard on this matter? Ma'am, please come up and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rose Palazzolo. My address is 905 Cabot Lane, St. James, New York. I happened to find out about this presentation by CarMax by looking at TV. I come to the senior center 4 and 5 times a week. The senior center is open from 7:15 until 4:45. We have dances here. We have special events. Sometimes our parking lot is very filled. And usually car dealers are not good neighbors. One of the problems is they don't pay attention to where they're allowed to park. They have no parking signs, and you'll see a trailer parked along Jericho Turnpike. I thought that space between the road and next to the sidewalk was in case you had an accident with your car or you had to stop, that you pulled over into that space. I didn't realize that they could park there all day long, and it's legal unless there's a no parking sign there. That I never have seen any of them ever get a ticket from the police department. Also, I thought this meeting was supposed to be about traffic, and it doesn't seem to be. I mean, I heard they wanted to move the traffic light or put on another traffic light where they want those cuts to come out. Now, I assume this is a road next to where there is property that doesn't belong to them, and their property ends before the animal shelter. So where do they intend to put this traffic light, which they have to get approval from the state DOT?
Okay. The traffic light that you mentioned, it would not be a new traffic light, but we'd be using the existing traffic light.
Oh, that's great. Do you know
That's right.
what that means? We seniors have to contend with traffic right in front of our nose. They already park over here on Highway Street, which is a private street to the town. And I was coming into the center, and I'm coming on the right, and they're parked on their right. They're parked and preventing me from seeing who's coming out of the highway department. I had to go around them into the lane that comes out going to Jericho Turnpike. And I said to the gentleman, how come you parked there? I don't want to park on Jericho Turnpike.
Well,
And then we have, they are bad neighbors, no matter what they promise you. As far as I heard that they're going to have auctions, okay? I assume CarMax goes around from dealer to dealer and picks up cars and puts it on their trailer and brings it to their place of business. When they have auctions, What does that mean to us in the town of Smithtown? Cars have to come out of there. I assume I heard that there was at least 10 trailers going in the whole week. How does this affect traffic, which is already bumper to bumper?
Well,
And
go ahead.
yeah, and I am not happy with having so much traffic. We have enough traffic. They made their traffic survey from 4:45 p.m. till 6 o'clock. Now, you're all Smithtonians, and you all use Jericho Turnpike.
We do.
And so you know how much traffic there is, provided you live east of Jericho Turnpike. When you're going west, you hardly have a problem. And the state screwed things up beautifully because they have a turn by the library. It's supposed to be just to go up 25A. But instead of going up 25A, they go straight down 25. And when I'm coming from 25, the senior center, to go to town hall, so you know what I'm talking about, sometimes there's so many cars waiting to turn onto 25A going left. You have to go around them, and it's not safe. And not only that, you get double traffic because instead of the cars turning for 25A, they don't. They go straight ahead, and then we're going straight ahead, and then there's double merging traffic. So the state has not done a good job on 25A. They made it one lane to come to the senior center. They did that at John Jones Road so that you only have one lane going east. And when I leave the senior center, I go east. So how come you're not talking about traffic, which is what you said you were going to do at the meeting in March?
Okay, a lot of the concerns that you expressed this evening were addressed by the applicant in their presentation at the last meeting where this matter was brought forth. Mr. Shea would like to come up and address some of your concerns. I know there would be no unloading of cars on Jericho Turnpike because they have specifically designated an entrance for tractor trailers to drop off cars. That would not, for example,
That's
be on Jericho.
irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Well, that was the concern that you
No,
expressed.
my concern is that you're going to have more car carriers. Okay, what happens when they have an auction? These car carriers are going to come out, or they're going to go in, whatever it is, it's going to affect the traffic that's there now. So you're adding to the problem that we have now, that we are always in bumper-to-bumper traffic 90% of the time, okay?
believe the
So I just think that's, why don't they try to go by Pet Boys, or they have that other place where the electric, there used to be a fish store there, and there was an electronics car there, right at the corner of 347 and Jericho Turnpike. Is that property available?
I don't know, that's not really relevant
No,
to this
it is. What
discussion.
I'm saying is, I want them to come into town, but not on top of my senior center that I've been going to for 22 years. And then you're asking me to cope with more traffic than I'm coping with already, and every other senior is also. It's not a place for to be opposite a senior center.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
what my
Did you have a petition you'd wanted to present?
I don't have much of a survey because I found out about this April
You have to
10th.
use the
Okay,
microphone.
thank you.
Because it's being recorded.
Okay, you have 2 letters there, plus you have a start of a petition,
Okay,
and there will be more pages.
forthcoming?
Yes,
Okay,
because I gave them out, and I wasn't able to collect all of them.
okay,
But it is a problem for seniors, and it is a problem for the town. And I think the town ought to get their representatives up in Albany to give the town authority over Jericho Turnpike from the railroad trestle to before 347, so that the town could make the rules as far as traffic light goes, as far as signs go, because New York State DOT has done a horrible job.
All right, thank you. Let the record reflect that Mrs. Palazzo has given us 4 pages, 2 letters, and a petition of 2 pages containing signatures, and we'll enter this into the record. I thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? Does the applicant care to respond to any of the issues raised, or?
I'll just be very, very brief, is that many of her comments were taken into account at the first hearing before this board. No decision is going to be made tonight with regard to the functionality of the curb cut or how it is that the site design is going to be finalized. That will be continually part of the process as we move forward, and I would just ask that the board make their recommendation so that we can move on to the town board, and then we can make final determinations with regard to site design moving forward. And we appreciate your time and courtesies with regard to this matter.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? We have before us a resolution, and I believe it has been amended, and I think does most of the board concur with these changes? And would you?
Motion?
Yes.
In the matter of zone change petition number 2015-14, CarMax Auto Superstores Incorporated, I move that we adopt the resolution in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning Department as modified at the request of the applicant as reflected on the record and the discussion had during this hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion's carried.
Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Okay, other matters before us, we have adoption of minutes of the March 16th, 2016 meeting.
Motion to adopt the minutes of the March 16, 2016 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are adopted. Is there any other business to come before the board? There being none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned.